I think you could guess who I dressed up as. I have a really lovely book for you today. Oops! I just need to put all my things down, and the book is called... I almost lost my hat. The book is called The Glass Heart. In a hustle and bustle of getting ready for Nana's birthday party, Rosie had been forgotten. She had wandered off to her Nana's bedroom, where she loved to look at all Nana's little things. Her favourite was the glass heart that lay on a velvet cushion, so delicate that Rosie was sure it had been made by fairies. Then something awful happened. Rosie had been told not to touch the glass heart, and she didn't mean to, but it lay in pieces on the floor. Rosie burst into tears. She knew Nana loved the glass heart, and she would be so cross. So there's Rosie, looking at the glass heart, and there's the heart breaking into lots and lots of little pieces, and Rosie is really upset. But Nana wasn't cross. It doesn't matter. These things happen, she said. Broken things can be mended so they're good as new, if not better. And she picked up the pieces and put them in a box. Did you know, Rosie, that some people have glass hearts? If they're touched gently, they ring out like silver bells. But if they're given a jolt, they can break in two. Like your glass heart, said Rosie. Sort of, said Nana. Now, would you like me to tell you a story? Oh yes, said Rosie. She cuddled up with Nana and listened to the distant sounds of people putting out glasses for the party. Shall I begin? Said Nana. So there they are. All ready for the story about the heart of glass. Once, long ago, there was a king and queen who lived in a city built on water. Why was it built on water? Asked Rosie. Because it was a magical city, said Nana. And there is the magical city built on water. It's truly magical Venice. They had 3 beautiful daughters who all had glass hearts. Children, said the queen, you must take great care of your hearts. They're very fragile, and you are very precious. What beautiful 2 words, fragile and precious. So the girls did their best to stay out of harm's way. So there are the girls with the glass hearts. And there they are, trying to be careful with their hearts. And sometimes that's not that easy. But one day, the eldest of the princesses was looking out of the window when the grand boat passed by, carrying a prince. The prince's heart gave a leap of joy. Surely this was the prince of her dreams. But the prince didn't even notice her smiling down at him. He was too busy staring at his own reflection in the water and seeing how handsome he looked. The prince's heart went bing. The glass is broken, and she fell down, quite dead. A little while later, second princess was walking in the garden and knelt down to smell a perfect pink rose. Its perfume was so gorgeous that her heart gave a ding. The glass had cracked, and she fell to the ground. The king and queen ran to lift her up. They were overjoyed to see that she was all right, but a heart that is cracked had to be treated with care, or it will break too. The princess, who was a very brave girl, told her parents not to fuss. She would lie by the window on a lounger and watch the world go by with her little dog to keep her company. Sometimes hearts with crack last even longer than the hearts without, said the princess. So there's the first princess looking at the prince who's loving seeing image of himself in the water. And this is what happened. And there's the second princess looking at that rose. And there she is now, in bed, with her dog for company. Sorry, it's taking so long. All this time, the youngest princess was growing up. She was so beautiful and so sweet and sensible that everyone loved her. Many princes asked for her hand in marriage, but the king and queen were in no hurry to marry her off. The daughter with a glass heart should be careful who she falls in love with, in case her heart is broken. If she is to marry anyone, said the king, he must not only be a prince, he must be good with glass as well. But none of the princes knew anything about glass, so the king and queen had to turn away all of them. Now the king had a handsome young page called Valentino, who was learning to be a courtier. One of the duties was to carry the princess's train, which he did very well. The princess liked the way he talked, and he was secretly in love with her. So there they are in the garden. One day, the princess tripped. Valentino caught her effortlessly. Taking her hand, he helped her to the chair. It was then that the princess noticed something about him. What? Asked Rosie. I'm not going to tell you now. You'll have to wait and see, said Nana. So, there's the picture of the princess falling down, and Valentino helped her to the chair. I wonder, what did she notice? The king was so grateful that he gave Valentino 5 cloaks as a reward. Now you are free to go into the world and make your fortune, said the king, and I wish you all the best. Even though Valentino's heart was not made of glass, he felt it would break if he had to leave the princess. She was sad too. If only you were a prince, and good with glass as well, she sighed. There is nothing I can do to make myself a prince, said Valentino, but I will learn all there is to know about glass, and then I will come back and try to win your hand. So there they are, saying their goodbyes. Valentino took a gondola from the palace. Then he sailed across the lagoon in a little boat to an island not far away. So there's the gondola, and then there's the bigger boat, and he's going across the lagoon to this island. I wonder, why is he going to an island? What's so special about the island? He went to see a glass blower he had heard of, who could make goblets and glasses and tiny glass animals so delicate that the slightest puff of wind would shatter them into thousands of pieces. Will you teach me all there is to know about glass? Asked Valentino. I will, but it'll take 3 years, said the glass blower. The first year you'll have to get up early to fetch bread from the bakery and look after the children. The second year you will learn how to make a fire hot enough to melt glass. And the third year I'll teach you all there is to know. So this is where Valentino is now. Sorry, I keep peeking to see whether you could see the pictures. Valentino was impatient. He wanted to get back quickly to his princess, so he asked if he could just do the last part. But the glass blower laughed and said, everything has to be done in the right order, at the right time. Otherwise, no good will come out of it. So the first year, Valentino got up early to fetch the bread from the bakery and looked after the glass blower's children. The second year, he learned how to make a fire hot enough to melt the glass. So there is Valentino doing all the chores before he's allowed to learn what he wants to learn. The third year, he learned how to blow glass and melt it. And by the end of the year, he had made 3 glasses so delicate they looked as they were made out of rainbows. So there he is. And there are his glasses. What do you notice? Oops. They're fit for a king, said the glass blower. I have nothing to teach you. Valentino packed up the glasses with great care, wrapped himself in his fine cloak, and said goodbye to the glass blower and all his children. Then he started on a long journey back to the city built on water to see his princess. So there he is saying his goodbyes and sailing back to his princess. But as he got closer to the city, his courage failed him. Why would such a beautiful princess look twice at him? Surely by now she would have met and married a prince who was good with glass. He was sitting by the roadside, his head in his hands, when a travelling circus passed by. Where are you going, and why so sad? Asked the clown. Valentino told him about the princess with the glass heart. Well, you're in luck, said the clown. She hasn't found anyone to marry. Princes have come from far and wide, but they knew nothing about glass, and they were far too grand to be bothered to learn. So now the king is looking not for a prince, but for a man who is good with glass. And 2 more things besides. So there he is, talking and hearing that his princess didn't find a prince, and the king wants somebody who is good with glass for his daughter. Valentino felt his heart would burst with joy. Do you know what these things are? He asked. Yes, said the clown. The princess must like the young man, and he must have hands as soft as velvet. Valentino thanked the clown and hurried on. So look, there is a long queue waiting to meet the princess, not outside the Waitrose. When he reached the city built on water, he found a long line of glaziers waiting outside the palace. What are glaziers? Asked Rosie. People who put the glass in windows, said Nana. The princess had turned them all down because although they knew a lot about... The princess had turned them all down because although they knew a lot about glass, their hands were rough from working with putty all day. Sorry, the text is sideways, so I was going... Woo. So there's the queue of people who put glass in windows, but that is not my kind of skill. Valentino went up to the palace gate and asked to speak to the king. The guard knew him by his cloak, and he let him in. Then Valentino presented the king with the 3 glasses. The king was most impressed, for it's difficult to carry anything so fragile without breaking it. He called for his daughter to come and look. The princess was so happy to see Valentino again that a smile as bright as the sun spread over her face. She was delighted when he told her he had made the glasses himself. Oh, Papa, this is the man for me, said the princess. He's good with glass, and I know his hands are as soft as velvet. Do you remember when she discovered that his hands are soft as velvet? Maybe when she was long time ago in the garden. She had noticed that when she had tripped up. So there is a Valentino giving his present, and this is the moment the princess with the heart of glass realized, yes, this is the man. The king and queen were happy that at last they had found a perfect young man for their daughter. There was a big wedding and a great masked ball, and the glass blower and all his children came, so he did the travelling circus. I'll show you the picture in a second. Okay. So there's the prince and princess. And a big party.
Valentino always looked after his princess with great tenderness and care. They had many children and lived as happy as lark in palace. What about the second princess, the one with the cracked heart? Asked Rosie. Well, said Nana, the second princess still had to spend most of her time resting. She didn't mind because she had a little dog and her nephews and nieces who thought she was the best auntie in the world. She told them stories and explained the stars to them and wiped away their tears. Everyone loved her and she lived to a ripe old age in spite of the crack in her heart. She was fond of saying, "Well, my dears, that is the way it is. Something that is broken and mended often lasts much longer than something that is new." Do you think she was right? Asked Rosie. Yes, I do. I remember when I was your age that I dropped a pretty milk jug that my mother had, and it cracked. My mother mended it very carefully, and it had lasted ever since. Do you know I still have it? And I wouldn't exchange it for all the new milk jugs in the world. Now, said Nana, shall we go down and join the party? So there's the princess with the cracked heart that was mended. And this is the Nana and Rosie sharing the time together. And that was the story called The Glass Heart. And I hope you have a lovely and wonderful World Book Day. Hope to see you soon.